got Chris from Synthetic Pro Audio. We're going to be doing a few tips and tricks for you each week on decks, on production and things like that. Just short tips and things. And then if you want to check them out, you can come into the shop and stuff like that as well. We do lessons here and stuff like that. We're going to start this week with just a real basic sort of scratch move, which is used widely across all genres these days. Started out as a classic sort of scratch sound to the electro sort of style back in the early 80s, moved on to hip hop. Now you can hear it in house and drum and bass and all sorts of styles and like that. It's called the Chirp Scratch, due to a sound which it makes, which sounds a little bit like a chirp. So I'm going to show you quickly how it's done, and then you can go off and practice it. And if you want to come into the shop and have a go at it sometime, you can. Okay, so basically I've got a recording from a old vinyl record of mine called a Super Seal, which you can still buy on the market now. It's a really commonly used scratch record across all the genres and stuff again. And we're going to use this particular sound. So if I just press play on here, like that. So the classic sort of R sound used on many tracks over the years. You would have heard it on all sorts of records, all the way through to your pop stuff and that lot. And it's got a very distinct sort of sound when you're actually sort of scratching it using the crossfader. So the Chirp Scratch basically goes like this. And what I'm essentially doing is just pushing the sound backwards and forwards like that. And using the crossfader to cut off the far end of the scratch where I'm actually just about to pull it back, so it splits it into two. So if you looked at it carefully there, I had the fader open at the start of the scratch. So basically, I started with the fader open, and then as I pushed the actual sound, I actually, at the same speed, push the fader and pull it back at the same speed as I'm pushing the sound backwards and forwards, and that gives you the sort of sound that you want. Just like that. When you're using decks like this, which I'm using is a Pioneer CDJ 900 Nexus, when you actually got your scratch samples in there, it's really important actually to get a little cue point actually at the start of the sample, just so you can actually use it as a bit of a guidance. On the old days when we were using the records, and also with the DJs that are using them these days, they'd use something called splicing, which is like a little sticker which you'd use to knock the needle into place. We can't do that obviously on here, so what we have to do is put in a little cue point for it. So I've done that just literally by getting the start of the sound and pressing Q on that, yeah. Anyway, back to the actual sound itself and the actual scratch itself. Open fader at the start, pushing it backwards and forwards as you push the record backwards and forwards, or the CD backwards and forwards. And then if you've got a tune playing, you want to start off really slowly. So I'm going to go to like the tempo of the track. So nice and slowly to it, try and get that sound just like that, and then you can speed it up once you've got used to that. So that's the Chirp Scratch. Real good scratch to know if you're going to be doing it or wanting to add something to your sets and things like that. If you want to check out some more, come back to Synthetic Pro Audio, check us out online, syntheticproaudio.com, or pop into the shop. See us there. Cheers.